Let me just talk openly about a big move that I made for myself last week that if Mike Miller is on here, he hasn't even heard it yet, so he's going to freak out when I tell him. I took the VT7 Fern off my mix bus, and I added a clipper to the end of the chain instead. So I now have
hardware clipper.
No, in T-Rax plug-in clipper.
Oh, okay.
The VT7 is now on a vocal, like on a hardware insert that I can use on anything, but it sounds amazing on vocals right now. But I took one level of tubes and transformers off. I think the amount of tubes in the VT5, the EQ, is enough for that musicality and tube,
which is on your mix bus,
which is still there, doing pretty heavy-handed bottom and top EQ. But I after talking to a couple of homies, realized that potentially 2 sets of tube gear and transformers were boxing me into only that kind of overly musical tube love, kind of, rounded off, potentially softened a bit, and I want to have more flexibility. I could put the VT7 on as a hardware insert if I need that extra love on that kind of music. Yeah. But that and maybe 80% still wants that. But I've gotten good luck on the first couple of mixes this year without it, and having a clipper at the end, very minimally. So when I say clip, I don't mean like I'm overdriving it on the last stage of the mix.
It's not a Fruity Loops trap drum clip.
It's not. Let that be done elsewhere. Bring it to me, and I'll elevate it. You can use this in that fashion as well, and I have tried it on kick drums and even in parallel, and that's there. This T-Rax is the closest, I think, to the Fruity Loop sound when you hit it hard. It's still not the same. It still softens things a little bit, but it's the right kind of that soft clip that I think people are hearing in music these days. And
I like that JST clipper plugin too.
I use that a lot. This is more transparent.
JST is definitely like gives a sonic quality to it.
Yeah, and I like it. And I'm still using it on subgroups and/or individual instruments. It as I used it on every mix for a year, I've realized that it's a little heavy-handed on drums specifically. Brings up some bits that I don't like.
Well, this is an interesting. You and I can get into a longer discussion about this. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll just make it short. But the idea of, and again, what we're talking about for new people watching this stuff, all these things are tools. So what you've done is not necessarily change what tools you're using, but just allowed for a more flexible setup.
Exactly.
Because, a lot of what we talk about is trying to keep musicality, trying not to over limit, compress, bright, loudness, that sort of thing.
Not to rely on one thing is what we always kind of get back to.
But have the ability to throw some things into the wall a little bit more than just with your multiple tube staging things. So you took one of them out so you can pop it in when you want. But that's really interesting. I like that.
And on a higher level, being okay with saying that the $7,000 compressor that you bought is not going to be used on everything. Yeah. And that was a story I told myself, because when I put that on, it gave the love that I had been looking for in my mixes, and it was a quick answer to a lot of things. And then I added the VT5 because I wanted a mastering EQ on the chain, and that added more love. But now trying it without the first one, the love I wanted was already instilled in the VT5 in one chain. So process of elimination. I've never actually tried only that on my mix bus. So it came with pure listening, not listening with any expectation. I was down for it to not sound better, but it just did. Yeah. Or more to my taste of, okay, it actually sounds a bit wider now. It sounds a bit more transparent, where the extra layer of tubes was filling in maybe too many gaps when I talk about even order harmonics, and maybe it's filling in just a little bit too much for what people are used to, competitively in the pop sphere. I'm also trying to, balance musicality with competitiveness, like we always, come back to as well. I don't want to be in one box. So no pun intended, but I like the more flexible nature. And also in this conversation of like, just being open to coming to you and saying, yo, I'm doing this, and let everybody know that this is what's happening. And I want to just say one thing just for the Fern homies, and I think if you don't have both, one is doing a lot of things. So just because I'm taking my VT7 off the mix bus, if you own one and you're on this chat, don't take it off. It does great things musically.